I was trying to think of a transition, but all I got was, speaking of fruit snacks.
Forget about workplace
Mario.
problems.
There you go.
Yeah.
Speaking of workplace problems, Mario, hit us with the pitch.
So, I had originally was going to pitch more talk about Artful Escape. That didn't make sense. I had a video coming out that same time. And then my good buddy, Frank, brought this to my attention. All right. That every gaming website and every website that you visit right now is talking about, of course, AEW. What is that? That is All Elite Wrestling. That's right. I'm pitching wrestling, but I'm going to tell you why everyone is talking about it and why you should enjoy yourself some of that good old-fashioned wrestling. And go give you a little bit of a history lesson, okay? I'm going to start at the very beginning here. Wrestling, opera, ballet, gymnastics, comedy, drama.
I'm here for most of these things.
All of those things encompass, including carnival and carnies and clowns. All are tied to the history of wrestling in some aspect. If you enjoy either one of those things, especially anime as well, if you just enjoy even one of those things, you can find something in wrestling that you can enjoy. And I'll tell you, you put a face, and trust me, I'm going to show you in just a second. Wrestling has been around since, the Carney days back, I believe, in the early 20s.
At the dawn of time.
Since the dawn of time. There's definitely been, arenas and stuff like that, but this has obviously been more in terms of, the entertainment aspect of it, where it's fighting, but it's for your entertainment, not to actually murder somebody. So they basically, wrestling's been around for as long as time. The biggest company in the world, of course, originally was the World Wrestling Federation, which had to change its name because of the World Wildlife Foundation. The little panda guy was like, no, you can't use that.
Shout out to the World Wildlife Foundation.
That's right. They went to court and Panda won. Panda got over. So they've, of course, changed their name to World Wrestling Entertainment, and they have definitely been focusing in that route in terms of entertainment. Basically, they were the top dog. Back in the 90s, back in the late 80s into 90s, they had competition for the first time in a long time on television. USA Network was WWE Raw, and then you had on WCW on TNT, where there was an actual war between them. It was called the Monday Night Wars. And you would go back and forth, and wrestlers from...
It was great.
It was so great. Characters that you loved in one promotion all of a sudden showed up on another because they were not getting pushed or getting their stance brought up, okay? And it was one of the greatest periods in wrestling ever until the point where the 2000s sort of kicked in and writing was terrible on one side and one side specifically beat the living shit out of the other. To the point where they bought them live on air from their previous company to be brought over to the WWE. So WWE has been champion since then. It's been about 20 years. And basically, ever since then, there's been no one to oppose them. We've had, obviously, the eras of John Cena, which everyone knows. Some breakout stars like the Hardy Boys and stuff like that. That is WWE, right? There was some indies in the background that were gaining steam. Wrestling is not just an American sport, it's a Canadian sport. It is a UK sport. It is also a Japan sport. It's also a Mexican sport. In Japan, the New Japan Wrestling had a series of where indie wrestlers from America that were not on the not in the WWE because they were considered either not marketable. Because when you think of WWE, you think of Hulk Hogan, you think of the big guys, you think of Brock Lesnar, right? You think of these monster people. Small people wrestle too. And sometimes your act is, different than others and you get pushed in a certain way. So they go off into New Japan Wrestling and become massive stars over there in Japan. Just absolute, some of the top wrestlers over there. Wrestlers at a certain point were like, there's no competition. Until finally the independent scene got so big that they actually threw a show in Chicago called All In, where a bunch of wrestlers put money up and said, can we fill this arena up to 10,000 people of just the top indie wrestlers? And sure enough, they did. It was monumental for wrestling, and they had some of the best matches I've ever seen happen on the stage. In the same event, Stephen Amell from Arrow also participated in a match.
Fucking love Stephen Amell.
Yes, which of course, he's on the show Heels, which is a wrestling show, which also features CM Punk. That happened and started a new explosion of the interest for wrestling, which then, January 1st in 2019, 5 people, the Young Bucks, which is Matt and Nick Jackson, Kenny Omega, and Chris Jericho, and Cody Rhodes, all came together and made a new company called All Elite Wrestling, which stemmed from YouTube culture, which was a YouTube show that they had while they would go on wrestling, and they would tell stories on the YouTube show, and they would actually act them out in wrestling in Japan, which was awesome. They're silly, irreverent, freaking fantastic, which then begins the now new alternative for wrestling fans that don't have to suck up to just enjoy WWE, because WWE at this point has gotten stale. There was different eras of WWE where it was raunchy, it was weird, and that was the 90s. Not all of it was great. A lot of it was fun. A lot of it was stupid, but it's something that we recognize. At a certain point, there was a scandal that happened where, if you know the story of Chris Benoit, something very terrible happened. Obviously, Canadian wrestler, very sad story. I'm not going to tell the details here, but understand that that was definitely where things had to start to change. And since that change, John Cena has become higher and rise. And it was more of called the PG era, where things are more family friendly, family focused, less about wrestling and more about how can I sell t-shirts? How can I sell action figures? You know, that's what wrestling had become. And that's, some people enjoy it for what it is. Some people wanted like something at least alternative to that. And that's what AEW is. So they got on TNT, which is the same network as WCW. Okay. So they're very much paralleling the original war. Okay. From there, the pandemic happened. And there's no shows. Wrestling is on the lifeblood of crowds. All right. You need to hear the crowd. You need to hear the anticipation. You can't really, they did it. They actually had wrestling events like in a private room, and basically they would watch it. But the beauty of wrestling is being there live and experiencing and getting lost in the moment and totally understanding that, yes, this is not real, but these people are putting their lives on the line and telling a story for you. And you're supposed to get lost in that moment and root for people and root for the faces, which are the good people, and root for or boo the heels, and who are the bad people. And that sort of got kind of lost during the pandemic. But during the pandemic, AEW and WWE were having totally different types of different shows. At this time, WWE decided, let's make some budget cuts because we're WWE. We're $1 billion company. We're totally fine because they are saving money because they're not going on the road. They have a performance center. They cut the entire roster almost like in half over the course of the last 2 years. Some of the biggest stars possible.
Jesus Christ.
Big names such as like Brody Lee, Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, Lana, all these stars, Ruby Riott. Some amazing stars, people that are like top tier that for some reason that are just gone just because it just made sense to save money on their contract. Because when AEW started, they actually were locking people in 5-year contracts so that they stay at WWE and they would pay them more. But now with the pandemic, it's like cut their losses and the contracts early. People immediately are just like fed up with the bullshit that WWE has done. The stories are run by the same 70-year-old man who's been doing this for way too long and needs new talent, new blood. He will throw scripts away night of the show, which what fucking show does that? Nobody. All right? Storylines gone in an instance, right? It's people that you're invested in. The reason why you care about this sport. Now, AEW is a fostering of young talent. It is also still fostering, new stars and new faces and new people. And I'm actually going to go ahead, and this is the show and tell part where I'm going to switch to the browser mode. And I'm going to show some of these stars because some of these are interesting. because these are characters that you would not see. So, for instance, Darby Allin. Darby Allin is like 5'2", rail thin. All right, he would not be a top star. He is like hitting top level main event matches. I'm gonna go ahead and go straight to Nyla Rose, who, let's see here, Nyla Rose is right here. A transgendered fighter that won the #1 belt for AEW for the women's championship and does massively well. Would not be featured on WWE. Some of these people never even got a chance to be featured on any of this. And that AEW provides on that. It provides unique faces, unique voices, diverse characters, diverse people, as well as telling really interesting high-level stories and stories that are that go on for a while, so that way you can get engaged with them. There was a wrestler that sadly passed away in the middle of the pandemic because of COVID that no one knew about, kept secret until it was finally confirmed that yes, he had passed away. They did an amazing tribute show and honestly showed how much they cared about their wrestlers and how much they cared about their people. And with that, with all the people that they, of course, have left, those wrestlers saw that and definitely saw like this is the place that they would want to be. Lastly, of course, I just want to talk about CM Punk. If you've ever heard of this wrestler, one of the biggest wrestlers of all times in terms of status, in terms of somebody that wants to be, so that like people want to see again. He got fired actually at WWE because he was saying how stale that product was and how they're not listening to their fans and how the stories and everything is just garbage and they're just giving it to John Cena just because. And they fired him. They overworked him. He actually had a medical issue with them too. They actually fired him on his wedding day. Like that's like a legit story, which is very messed up. But the reason why we're obviously talking about WWE and AEW and why wrestling is prevalent right now is because CM Punk has returned and he has chosen AEW. He has chosen a place that cares about their wrestlers and cares about the environment of wrestling and what wrestling means to people and the storytelling and the history and stuff like that. And that's why I'm implying for anyone here that anyone can get into wrestling, definitely give AEW a shot. You can just jump in right now. This is definitely partly the start of any things, and you can find a wrestler for you. There are wrestlers in this program that are aliens. There are wrestlers in here that are zombies. There are wrestlers that are a dinosaur. One of the best wrestlers, of course, is Luchasaurus, which I'm going to go ahead and try and find. Yep, there he is. Luchasaurus is right there. He is right in this corner, right there. Yeah, there is literally a wrestler for everyone and all types of sizes. Jungle Boy, of course, is actually, oh my God, he was 90210. He passed away. He was also on Riverdale. That's his son, Jack Perry. Luke Perry. Yeah. Kenny Omega is probably the biggest star in Japan, primarily because his finisher moves are all named after video game references like V-Trigger and the Wily Bomb and the One-Winged Angel. There's so many types of different wrestlers on here that you can definitely find someone to identify with and, could be yours. Even original people as well as, new faces. Like Abaddon right there is pretty sweet. Big Swole, wonderful wrestler. There's so many different identities, different races, different people that you can identify with, and they all have interesting fates and stories. So if you were to try wrestling, I would recommend AEW because they care. They care about the history of wrestling. They care about their people. So they'll actually let them take 3-month breaks in between and focus on other stars, obviously. They're a company that cares. And so if you are interested in any type of storytelling, which it could be, two brothers who've had a long history and fighting for years and had literally a blood feud, and then at the very end embracing each other and sort of it's even though we fought to the death, we still care about each other, stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just saying, give AEW a chance. I know that I've bought t-shirts for Frank. I think he's wearing it right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I highly recommend. I took Frank to a wrestling show not that long ago. It had AEW stars in it, and it was in a small,
fun.
dingy bar. And there's nothing like there's a lot of musk. There's nothing like the experience of live wrestling. So I'm just saying, it's 2 hours on Wednesday. It's 1 hour on Fridays. I'm missing this episode to be here, but you can always catch it up on Hulu. It's on Hulu.
Well, as a heads up, it's not available in Canada.
Also,
not available in Canada.
Fair enough. They do have a
Right.
YouTube show that is just matches as well, called AEW Dark, After Dark. So you can also check those out instead for the time being. But yeah. But I'm
gonna be real honest.
Yeah.
You said opera, ballet, and carnies in the same sentence, and now I'm very intrigued.
So yeah, it's literally can all be all one thing, and I could probably each individually recommend a match for you to watch, and then maybe you'll continue to watch from there. But yeah.
Fuck yeah, do it.
So, okay.
Yeah, ask questions away.
No. I specifically, believe it or not, don't particularly need to ask any questions. Well, I mean, I could ask questions, but I got into wrestling in 2019.
Okay.
I just don't talk about it too often. I was specifically interested mostly because I met Bailey from the WWE in Bryant Park with a friend of the show, Kyle Stevenson. Even though sometimes I do joke around and say that, like, oh, she didn't specifically ask to take a photo with you. That is a lie. She did technically, like, I'm joking. She did. She came up to us, asked us if she could take a photo with him. He said yes, because he was wearing, oh God, what's the girl's names? I will remember it in a second here. He was wearing a t-shirt because her friends were currently doing a showcase in Australia, and so then she's just like, I want to take a photo with you. It is on her Instagram if you ever want to go back and check. It's from like October of 2018. Is where she took that like that's where it's currently printed, or wherever you'd like to specifically look at it. But no, I was a huge Becky fan. I like Seth as well, just because, like, one, a raging red-haired Irish woman definitely got me really excited, and just also seeing Batista's last fight was kind of fun because I watched my goodness,
That nose ring?
SmackDown.
Oh.
That was rough. That was a rough watch. I also loved, oh my God, Xavier Woods' BTS of the entire event, because he was losing his mind listening to Batista's opening song, which is I Walk Alone, and he's just yelling the lyrics so loud. He's just like, this is the best song in the WWE. And I'm like, dude, you have your own song, but he does not care. He just loves Batista. Just wanted to see, like, he's just like, I can't believe I'm here. Like, I appreciated the fact that they still fanboy about it.
Yeah.
I will admit there was an event that kind of made me kind of be like, okay, this is kind of just gross. It's now been since, like, explained as a stunt by Lacey Evans, who she got into an argument with a RCMP, there's a video of her doing this.
Oh, yes.
She's just like, I hate Canada. And then throws her her ID and stuff to the police officer, which, by the way, for a Canadian, they didn't explain until a few days later that was false.
Yeah.
Like, it was at the time just this wrestler who was
wide
just disrespecting
Canadian news.
Yeah, it was just like she completely disrespecting an RCMP officer, but then it was explained that it was a stunt for one of the matches in Alberta. And I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, like, I get that now, but, like, that's kind of not so great. But I appreciated the fact that at the time there were some wrestlers that, like, I could even, like, see myself as, because you were seeing, like, a lot of, like, above 6 foot women who would just beat the shit out of these, like, other people. And, like, sometimes, yes, they would get double teamed by a smaller crew and then they would be knocked out. Cool. But you got to see, like, different faces. I did fall off around COVID. So unfortunately, I did end up joining around the time that, like, everything was closing up shop. And I tried to watch when there was no one there. Like, when they had the fighters going.
It was rough.
It was rough.
Yeah.
Because, like, you get, and like you said, you get, like, so amped up and excited. Like, you're hearing people cheer, he's hearing the audience, and, like, yeah, it's in the background, but at the same time, you're just like, this is so freaking exciting. Like, And like you were talking about, like historically, this has been something since the frickin' dawn of time with like gladiators and like just the showmanship of like people coming into an arena and watching people fight.
Yeah.
Except this isn't till the death. There have been injuries and incidences. I went on a Google deep dive, which was a little bit
There's a lot.
scary.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Because even though they're doing high intensity, like even their stunts.
Yeah.
They're sorry, I apologize for the people who didn't know this. They're doing stunts. It's not specifically like it's not real, guys. It's a stunt. They practice it beforehand. There's going to be accidents though, which could have killed people on multiple occasions.
Oh my god, so many times. Look at Matt Hardy. Just look at Jeff Hardy and just how you will alive. I don't understand.
Yeah, no, but I really enjoy it. Like I don't call myself a sports person, but when it comes to like stuff like it's probably because I'm very competitive. Like I try to avoid sports because I'm a very competitive person, so I'm just like, no, I'm not really into sports, but like wrestling, I was definitely like 2019, I was yelling at my TV because I was just like, if Becky does not win, I'm going to fucking quit. And which that was
it's something I never really got.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it was really controversial that year anyway because it was women like headlining.
Yeah.
Because there had never been a
women pay-per-view?
Yeah, it was on the pay-per-view one. It was SmackDown where like they've never done like had the like specifically like the main event of the entire show was women, which I was very lucky that was my first SmackDown, but yeah.
Yeah.
You were going to say something, Sly?
Yeah, it's just something I've never got into, but I think it's cool to have something that's like athletic but also fun stories. And I mean, if I was watching it with Mario, I'd probably be really into it. But yeah, no, it's just something I've never really gotten into. I will say though, John Cena, pretty nice.
Yeah, no, I'm not throwing shade so much to John Cena, but there definitely was a transition point where John Cena had become sort of like the face of this PG era of its, focusing more towards kids, which is not, there's nothing wrong with that, to be honest with you. And they still do some weird, wacky stories, but at the same time, it felt like wrestling was in a aimless direction where, like I said earlier, it's run by one guy who hires 40 people to write a story and works with these wrestlers to build them up, and overnight will just throw all that shit away. Like that's how like banal it is that they just don't allow things to grow and see where it goes. They'll cut something early just because, hey, John Cena's available. Hey, Batista's available. Goldberg, like all these old
I just
people.
wasn't expecting him to be like a decent person.
No, of course. No.
Oh no. There was he was like, I don't usually watch their videos at all anymore, but he did there's a series on BuzzFeed that's called like I Became a Meme, which like obviously he's a meme because of he's never there.
Yeah.
You can't see me. So
are you sure about that?
So he was joking about he was talking about the fact that like he went through a very like kind of like it was obviously a TLDR explanation, but he joined the WWE as a villain, and then they were just like, you're now no longer a villain. You're now a good guy, and you have to accept that. And so he never got to be the villain that he originally signed up with. And then obviously, as we've seen with multiple characters, because even Becky's original character we don't talk about Becky's original character.
Yeah.
That was a major Irish stereotype and a half.
Fuck yeah,
but
it was.
It was not good. But then she did leave for almost a year, not even just because of the pandemic, because she recently went on maternity leave because she had a baby.
The end of that story was so beautiful too, because
I cried
so hard because the way it was set up, so it was supposed to be a battle between her and Asuka, and she tells Asuka to come to the ring. There's a suitcase sitting there, and she looks at Asuka's like, I was going to face you, but I'm having a baby instead. And she opens this case and gives the belt to Asuka, like a passing of the torch. It was like so beautiful.
Which, by the way, Asuka didn't instantly go and grab the briefcase. She screamed and ran up and gave Becky a massive hug, and she's just like, are you serious? And she's like, yes. And she's just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Like, yeah, the belt was cool, but like they worked so closely with each other for weeks, if not months at a time, that they be like, obviously a lot of these people do gain friendships there. And Asuka, even though she's kind of crazy, she's super duper adorable. And I really enjoyed her arcs as well when she joined the WWE. But I am excited to get into AEW. Like I said, I took a sabbatical because of COVID.
Yeah.
And also we're not going to talk about how the WWE addressed COVID for a little while, but
Yeah.
yeah. Thumbs up. So I'm
Alright.
excited to check out the AEW. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't recognize it for a little bit, and then when they started to, they like were trying to force some of the wrestlers, but
Yeah, those are bad.
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm definitely excited to check out AEW. So, hopefully we'll check in the next couple weeks, see how we're feeling about that.
Oh, yeah.
But with that, it is very late. So
It is.
let's wrap this shit up and
Yeah.
put a nice little bow on it.
There you go.
So, with that said, Fee, what do you have coming out soon? Where can people find you? What's going on? Where can people keep
Absolutely.
in touch?
For sure. You can find me here, not only for Point in Progress, but our newest show, which is Fantasy in Progress, where we talk about everything Final Fantasy 14. It stars Harv, Frank, and I, and we just talk about Final Fantasy 14. We hope to bring on more people that we've been playing with and just have discussions about the game itself, because it is very vast and there is so much to talk about when it comes to that game. You can also find me on Speaking of Stadia, where I do talk about Stadia over on the Game Source Network on YouTube. You can check me out on my Twitch at twitch.tv/Loranix, where I will be playing some games this week, such as The Artful Escape, which Mario has made a fantastic video about, and I can't wait for you guys to watch it. Also, is Harv here to do his out?
Sorry, guys.
He
Parents'
is
phone.
now.
So
My
you're gonna
parents' phone,
recant
I had
everything
to-
that I said, right? You're
Oh,
gonna
I was
No.
Yeah, I was about to do Harv's outro. I was
Oh,
just
I'm
gonna be
Sorry, guys. My parents phoned and I had to. Yeah, there's
no worries.
stuff. Sorry, I missed the entire last segment.
Good thing we break these things out.
You can watch it later.
My outro. Yeah, I'm Beard and
So,
the Hair.
Harv, yeah, where can people find you?
I am Beard and the Hair. You can find me at Beard and the Hair everywhere. Twitter, Twitch. You can find me on YouTube at Beard and the Hair Gaming. I'm gonna have some cool videos coming up soon. I am just in the process of getting an editor now. I'm finally putting this away onto somebody else, and somebody else is gonna be editing the videos and stuff like that. So just working full time and editing videos. Not great. Not enough time. There's not enough time. But yeah. And watch Fantasy in Progress or listen to Fantasy in Progress on Point in Progress, because it's a very good podcast.
Agreed.
Hell yeah. Mario, what do you have coming out? What are you plugging?
Plugging obviously the Artful Escape video, which comes out tomorrow, which should be out by the time this video is out. You can also find me at youtube.com/that Mario Rivera, where I will have Asa Green River as the next guest in Halo Forever. So I'm very excited for that. And I'm going to just put a little tease out there that there might be another podcast on Point in Progress that we're talking about, and I'm excited to talk about that. We'll see. We'll see what we'll talk about that. Okay. All right.
We'll see.
Yes. And it's not Final Fantasy related.
Frank?
I thought this was a Final Fantasy
God.
channel now at this point.
Yeah, basically.
God. All right. Frank, what non-Final Fantasy things you got going on?
You can find me at Final Fantasy at PodChamp of Eorzea. You can find me on Twitter at Kestrel1A, where I talk shit about video games. And you can find me here at Point in Progress, where I talk shit about video games.
All right. And as always, you can find me everywhere on the internet at SlyClanMC. You can, in a couple weeks, check out another secret project that will be happening. And please tune in to 6-1 Indie tomorrow if you're watching this live, or the video if you're seeing this after. I'm hanging out with the 6-1 Indie folks tomorrow. I'm super excited. It'll be great. And with that, thank you for listening to Point in Progress Podcast episode 25. Y'all, we're old. This has been your one-stop shop for news, recommendations, and spicy takes. Thanks for joining us. We love you. And as always, progress has been made.
Yeah, shout out to Carrie Ann Moss.
Woo!
Yeah, we're old enough to rent a car.
Carrie and Mom.
We can rent a car.